Welcome back. My name is Adrian and we're carrying on our tour of punctuation in the SAT and the ACT. In the previous video, we talked about commas and subclauses, adding subclauses to sentences. And we went through all the rules, but I said I would make another video giving you some questions. And so this is going to be a video where we're going to go through some ACT and SAT questions, some of the harder types of questions on this topic, and you can see how these are going and hone your skills on this particular type of question. So, without further ado, let's get to it. Okay, so here's our first question from the ACT. If you want to pause the video and have a go at it first, please do that. Okay, how did you get on? And this is one of those questions where we need to think about, do we want to introduce a subclause into the sentence or not? And the tempting answer is answer choice D, because we could add a subclause caused by a breach of the Tamsog reservoir. That could be a proper subclause, but we would need another comma after reservoir to make that work. And as we do not have a comma later closing a subclause, we cannot open it. And so we want answer choice A, no change. We don't want to add any commas at all in this case. On to the next question, this time from the SAT. And again, if you want to pause the video and have a look at this yourself first, please do. And so the question here is, what is actually our subclause? And what we actually have is we have this term weightlessness, and then we actually have another term that's qualifying this statement. It's actually saying rather than weightlessness, we're talking about microgravity similar to what is experienced in space. And if you think about which commas work, we need the comma after weightlessness to make that whole thing from all microgravity similar to what is experienced in space. That's the subclause. So we need a comma after weightlessness and a comma after space. And the only answer that gives us that is answer choice D. This looks slightly strange because the comma is inside the speech marks, but that's how the SAT will use punctuation. Any punctuation following a quote needs to come inside the speech marks. And so it's answer choice D that here works. So on to our next question, again from the SAT. Have a look at this for me, pause the video, and then I'll go through it for you. Okay, so here we can see we actually have several different punctuation marks after the word age. One of them is a dash, and then the clue here is we have another dash later in the sentence. And so Spider-Man, the Fantastic Four, and the Hulk among them are examples of these soon-to-be iconic characters. So we want to put these examples into a subclause, so we're going to use a dash to do that. We cannot use a colon because the sentence carries on after our list, after the dash. And so a dash is opening and closing the subclause in this case. Okay, next question from the ACT. Again, if you want to pause the video and have a look at it first, please do. And here we have several ways of introducing subclauses. We have a dash, and we have parentheses, and we have a comma. What's interesting about this one is answer choice H. There's a bit of repetition going here. The brackets would work. We could put "and safely" in some brackets and add that as a subclause. However, we don't want the comma as well, because parentheses work in the same way as commas, so that's almost like saying H is like gracefully, comma, comma, and safely, comma. There's two commas in a row there, we don't need that. The answer is actually going to be G, gracefully, and then we're adding "and safely" to the ground. And we know that that still works because the sentence would read, allow him to glide gracefully to the ground. That would work when we took the subclause out of the sentence. So the answer choice here is G. Another one from the ACT now. I'll pause the video and you can guys have a go at it. Okay, one of the tricks of this question is to realize that answer choices G and H are identical. They're both creating still deep within the mind as a subclause using either parentheses or commas. Those said answer choices G and H are totally identical. So they both have to be wrong because they both can't be correct. We don't actually want a subclause here at all. It's the equipment and tools still deep within the mind. That's the kind of introduction to our clause. We don't want to add a subclause there, so we just want answer choice F. We want the comma after the mine, and then the entrance was boarded up. That's the start of our sentence proper once we have the introductory clause at the sentence. Bracketed off there. And next one from the ACT. Again, pause the video if you want to think about this. This is one of our questions where we have a name and a kind of job or identity marker. Okay, so here I want to think about, can we put Louise Anna Boyd in a subclause? And because we don't have a definite article before San Francisco native, we cannot do that. If we had a San Francisco native, comma, Louise Anna Boyd, comma, first saw, that would work. But if we just have San Francisco native, if we take Louise Anna Boyd out as a subclause, we would be left with San Francisco native first saw the blue glaciers. And that doesn't work. We can't introduce it as a subclause. So we want no punctuation whatsoever. We want answer choice B. Have a look at this SAT question, another name-based question. Okay, how did this go? In this case, we could do without the definition of the name. We could say, but Jason Box believes that another factor added to the early thaw. That would work as a sentence. So we can cut out his job title, this an associate professor of geology at Ohio State. That's a subclause, but that means we need a comma before and after the introduction of his job title. And so that would give us answer choice C, where we have a comma before and a comma after state to completely make that a subclause. Okay, now we have this really important question from the ACT. So if you want to pause the video and have a go for it yourself first, please do. Okay, so what's going on here? And I think this one's easy to break down each part of the sentence to figure out what is going on where. We start with yet, comma. We can't change that, and that's just a subclause indicating a contrast. And then we have they themselves survive without apology. And this is the only part in the sentence where we have a subject and a verb. They themselves is the subject, survive is the verb. This is the bulk of our sentence. So this is the main part of our sentence. They themselves survive without apology. So that's the end of the sentence proper. We want a comma after apology, therefore, because everything that follows is going to be a subclause. So that gives us answer choices A and B with the comma after apology. Then answer choice A looks strange with this with instead. We can't take that out. If we delete with instead from the sentence as a subclause itself, the sentence doesn't scan. You'd have they themselves survive without apology, their simple claims and complex colours if we deleted the with instead. So answer choice B turns out to be the correct answer. Seems a bit strange at first, but if we think about how this works, we have they themselves survive without apology, the sentence. Then we have a subclause with their simple claims and complex colours. And within that subclause, we have another subclause, the word instead, because you can remove the word instead from that second subclause and it still stands. So we have a clause within a clause. So that's how answer choice B works. And it looks really dense with these 3 commas in a row, but if we separate out all the items of this sentence, we have our sentence proper, then a subclause, and a subclause within a subclause. This makes sense. Okay, hope that helps. Next question from the SAT. Again, if you want to pause the video and have a look at this first. And there's a lot of different commas in answer choice here, so we have a lot of options of where we could want to put them. One thing is to think about the structure of the sentence as a whole. We have improved techniques for fighting fires in space or at future outposts on the moon and Mars. We have a list of 2 things for fighting fires in space or at outposts. Because we have a list of only 2 things, we don't want a comma before the or. If you think about the other commas, they're all separating parts of noun phrases that need to go together. The techniques are techniques for fighting fires in space. So we don't want a comma between techniques or for fighting fires. And these outposts are going to be future outposts on the moon and Mars. So we don't want a comma between outpost and on the moon and Mars, because that's again separating out the outposts which are on the moon. That's not an additional subclause, that's part of the definition of the outposts. So we actually want no commas at all, which is answer choice C. And that's going to be it. That's going to do it for our series of practice questions. I hope those went well or were helpful to go through. Okay, so I hope those kind of questions are working. If you want to watch some of my other videos on SAT and ACT punctuation, there's one on semicolons, there's one on colons, there's another one on commas and lists. So please do watch those if you want further help with this particular question type. And also, if you need any other help with the math, the reading, the science, the essays, any part of the SAT or the ACT, I'm also a one-to-one tutor, so I can give you personalised help for these exams. I do lessons in person in Glasgow and London, but also over Skype, so I can help you wherever in the world you are. So if you want some one-to-one help, please do get in touch. My website is below. You can contact me there and we can arrange some lessons. Otherwise, please obviously like and subscribe to the channel if you find this useful. And also, if you want to leave any comments below for any videos you would like me to make, any questions you have, please do leave those and I will get around to answer them as soon as possible. Otherwise, thanks for watching, have a good day, and hopefully I will see you again soon.